So as a manager or a leader, do you often feel like you've got too much on your plate or you're feeling overwhelmed? Because I can tell you, when I first started managing, I really felt overwhelmed. In fact, I'd like to share with you just a bit of a personal story about that and how it sort of led me to becoming a coach as well. So when I first started off in a management role, I really wanted to be the best I could be. I always wanted to, show everyone that I could do the job well and I could be successful at it. And so I told everyone that I had an open door policy, and if anyone, needed any help or if they struggled with anything, to come and see me whenever they wanted, and I would help them. And I guess that was one of my biggest mistakes. Because my door was, or my office rather, was like a revolving door. There were people coming in and out all day long. And at the end of the day, I'd feel absolutely drained. And what was worse is I felt like I hadn't really achieved anything. When I say hadn't achieved anything, I mean I hadn't really achieved the things that I needed to get done. I mean, I'd helped everybody else solve their problems, but as far as managing goes, I hadn't done very much of that. And so I actually went to see a mentor and I said, look, I'm really struggling with this. I seem to just be solving problems all day long. And I explained what I'd done. I explained the story about, what I'd been doing with my team. And my mentor said, well, it's pretty obvious what you've done, Paul. You've trained your team to come to see you when you have problems. And that's exactly what they're doing. I think it's time you took a different approach. Have you tried coaching them? And I said, well, what's coaching? And he said, well, coaching is about asking people questions. And so I did that. I changed tack a little bit. I changed my method. So what I did, I started off with one simple question. The question was this: when people come to see me with a problem, I would say, what have you tried so far? And I realized that 90% of them hadn't actually tried anything. They'd just come to see me because they thought that I would solve the problem for them. They wanted to use my mental space or my mental energy to solve their issues. So the next question I started to ask is, well, what steps could you take? Or if you're going to give yourself some advice, what advice would you give yourself right now moving forward? Or what's the smallest thing you could do that would make the biggest difference? And so as a coach, what I did, I wasn't a coach then, but as I started to coach, what I realized was that there were multiple benefits to coaching as a leader or as a manager. Number one, people started to come up with solutions for themselves. Number two, I wasn't using up so much mental, space or mental energy. Number three, people seemed more empowered, and they also seemed more accountable. So the question I have for you is, have you trained your team to come to you with all your problems? Do you ask them to think through their challenges before they come to see you? What kind of things or what kind of changes do you need to make as a leader, or a manager, coach? And again, as we go through this program, I'm going to be giving you these skills to coach, but I'd like you to have a think about that question first.